On our 30th wedding anniversary, I was diagnosed with terminal stomach cancer. Su Huan, let's get a divorce. I'll leave with nothing. All the money at home will be left for your treatment. Yet my high-ranking official husband handed me divorce papers. The husband replied calmly, "You cannot pass away as my wife, otherwise, Wanwan would only be able to become my second wife. Wanwan is proud and ambitious. She couldn't bear this humiliation," 23-year-old Yuju said to me. "Shun Sujuan, I can marry you, but I won't touch you." "Why?" I demanded, my voice hoarse with emotion. I promised Wanwan that I would remain chaste for her for a lifetime. Yuju sat on a chair with a backrest, looking at me with a serious expression. "Shun Sujuan, let's talk, you know. Changwan and I were forced apart by our families. I can't forget her. I promised Changwan that I would remain chaste for her until she comes back to me." I spat out a mouthful of dark blood and unwillingly closed my eyes. I was reborn on my wedding night, the day my husband Yuju laid his cards on the table with me. When I opened them again, I had returned to my wedding night, in my previous life, being young and naive. I was moved by his and Chen Changwan's tragic love story and agreed without a second thought. Because Yuju told me that if he didn't find someone to fake a marriage with, his family wouldn't let Chen Changwan off the hook. At that time, Chen Changwan was a capitalist-class young lady sent down to the farm. Yuju, however, was the only male heir in 3 generations of the Yu family, a 3rd-generation military scion on whom great hopes were pinned. For the sake of Yuju's future, the Yu family absolutely refused to let him marry a capitalist-class young lady. I nodded. "Then let's get divorced." To appease Yuju, the Yu family promised that as long as the woman had a good class background, he could marry anyone he wanted, except for Chen Changwan, at 1001 hash. In the end, Yuju chose me. On the wedding night, the noisy banquet finally came to an end. "But in this lifetime, Yuju, I don't want to be a part of your deeply entangled love anymore." Yuju looked at me in astonishment. "Why, there is also someone in my heart. But that person, like your Wanwan, is someone I cannot marry right now." For a moment, I saw Yuju's expression, as if he had swallowed a live fly. Hearing me say that there was also someone in my heart, Yuju twitched the corner of his mouth and forced an ugly smile. Yuju's expression grew even more unpleasant, and he was just about to say something. Watching Yuju's utterly stunned expression, I felt extremely satisfied. "I can give you status. I can give you all my salary. But I can't give you myself." Yuju was stunned for a moment, then forced a bitter smile and said, "Su Huan, even if we're just pretending, shouldn't we at least act like a married couple? In our previous life, in order to cover up their shameful love for Yuju and Chen Changwan." Hearing the familiar conversation, my mind went blank for a moment. I managed our little family with Yuju in perfect order. I had actually been reborn. But in reality, every day after work, Yuju and I were like 2 roommates sharing an apartment. For 3 whole years, Yuju kept his promise to his first love and never once touched me. But when I saw my in-laws off and returned to the military compound, I discovered that the home that originally belonged to Yuju and me had already been taken over by his first love, Chen Changwan, at 1001 hash. That evening, I stood at the doorway and watched Yuju, dressed in a crisp military uniform, open the passenger door of the jeep. With gentle eyes and a soft expression, he extended his hand. Chen Changwan, dressed fashionably in a khaki trench coat, took his hand and gracefully stepped out of the car. Seeing me standing at the door, Yuju froze for a moment. "Sujuan, what are you doing back?" Everyone in the courtyard turned to look. Chen Changwan, both embarrassed and angry, shook off Yuju's hand harshly, covered her face, and ran out crying. Yuju looked at me with a face full of anger, shouting uncontrollably, "Shun Sujuan, don't think that just because you've taken care of my parents all these years and saw them to their final rest, I'll be grateful to you or fall in love with you. I told you on our wedding day that the person I love is Chen Changwan. You and I are just a couple in name only, a fake marriage." That night, neither Yuju nor Chen Changwan came back. "By the way, tell him that now that my in-laws are gone, there's no one left in this world to stand in the way of him and Chen Changwan being together. Let the star-crossed lovers, him and Chen Changwan, be together openly and without shame." My mother-in-law said that if I didn't want to stay with Yu anymore, I should divorce him. But as if possessed, Yu was convinced that my intention to care for his parents in their old age was just a way to morally blackmail him, ensuring he could never divorce me for the rest of his life. For the sake of Chen Changwan's reputation, he applied for a transfer and took his beloved white moonlight far away to the borderlands. I'm urging Yu again to go with me to get the divorce certificate. Who would have thought that Yu, who kept telling me not to have any wishful thinking about him, would actually drag his feet and refuse to go, because my family had been poor peasants for 3 generations. My class background was impeccable. Yu impatiently cut me off. No way. Do you think a military marriage can be dissolved just like that? If we want to divorce, we have to report it to the military unit. Once the report is submitted, my parents will definitely find out, because I came from the countryside, naive and simple, easy to manipulate. Shen Sujuan, are you deliberately trying to harm Wanwan? Seeing me speechless, Yuju's stern face broke into a faint smile. He reassured me, saying, "You don't need to worry about your reputation. I've already transferred Wanwan to the military hospital." I raised my head and looked at him calmly. From now on, both Wanwan and I will stay in the military. I understand. Then, please accompany me to the commune tomorrow to finalize the divorce procedures. Yuju's smiling face suddenly stiffened. You're bringing that man home. Yuju opened his mouth, looking as if he wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come out. But just a moment ago, it was he who had brought it up first. He had taken his first love, Chen Changwan, to live with him in the military unit. I smiled, revealing deep dimples. Yuju was stunned for a moment, then instantly flared up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "Because I was also forced to marry you, Shen Sujuan. You actually want to use my money to support some man on the outside." Seeing Yuju's frantic expression, I patiently explained once again, when the same words were directed at Chen Changwan. Yuju thought I was considerate and sensible, but when directed at Li Zhanfeng, Yuju's expression looked as if he had just eaten a pile of shit. In my previous life, I had also hinted to Yuju that he should maintain an appropriate distance from Chen Changwan. I secretly sneered, but at that time, "What did Yuju say? What? So you're allowed to have a white moonlight in your heart, Shen Sujuan? Don't use your filthy rural mindset to insult the relationship between me and Wanwan. And I'm not allowed to have a cinnabar mole in mine. Wanwan and I share a pure and innocent comrade-in-arms relationship at 1001 hash. Yuju, I already told you, Zhanfeng and I only have a pure revolutionary friendship. The current Yuju is not yet the regiment commander who would have the final say 30 years later." Fearing that her in-laws might harm Chen Changwan, Yuju simply didn't dare to actually divorce me. "Is that so? Well, that's good too." Taking a deep breath, Yuju, with a livid face, pulled out over a dozen big unity bills from his coat pocket and threw them at me as if venting his anger. "This way, we're even. Once I got the money, I left the family compound without looking back. But let's forget about divorce for now, since you can't marry him anytime soon anyway." The sound of a glass shattering on the floor came from behind. I shook my head firmly. "No, he has strong self-esteem. And I don't want people to say he was the third party who came between our marriage. But what reason does he have to be angry? After all, it was he himself who proposed that we enter into a marriage of convenience. Given a second chance at life, I don't want to waste my years away in the Yu family any longer. I had already picked up the large floral dowry quilt. I want to save that man who, in my previous life, gave me the last bit of warmth after my death. I'm afraid he might get jealous later. Tonight, let's sleep in separate rooms. In my past life, Yuju insisted on divorcing me before I died. I knew he didn't want me to be buried in the Yu family's ancestral grave. Even in death, he wanted to keep the spot beside him for the woman he truly loved. In this lifetime, you too shall experience the loneliness of an empty bed and sleepless nights. After I died, my husband's family wouldn't let me in, and I couldn't return to my parents' home. I almost became a lonely ghost buried in a mass grave. At 1001 hash, it was Li Zhanfeng, the man to whom I had once given a few wild vegetable buns. The next morning, I woke up to a cold stove and an empty kitchen. I didn't even prepare breakfast. in the name of husband and wife. He spent money to buy me a burial plot, thinking of my past life. When that man personally carved the words Li Jianfeng's wife on the tombstone, my heart felt both sour and bitter. Now, Li Jianfeng is still locked in the cowshed because of speculation and profiteering. I spent a little money and just mentioned my in-laws' names, and within half a day, Li Jianfeng was released from the cowshed. Brother, you should at least prepare 3 meals a day, otherwise, with a cold stove and empty pots. What kind of impression does that give? My shout completely stunned Li Jianfeng. Yes, that's exactly what the foolish me from my past life, used to think. Fortunately, he recognized me. All the detainees said he was lucky. If I hadn't come today, Li Jianfeng would have been sent down to a farm tomorrow. On the way back, Li Jianfeng glanced at me teasingly. How come I didn't know I suddenly have a little sister? I endured the heartache, like a dutiful wife, buying groceries, cooking, doing laundry, and mopping the floor every day. My face flushed, and for a moment, I didn't know how to explain. After all, at that time, Li Jianfeng and I weren't even acquaintances, so he had no reason to buy a burial plot for me. Seeing me blush and remain silent, Li Jianfeng thought he had gone too far with his joke and quickly apologized to me. Comrade Shen Sujuan, a great kindness is beyond mere thanks. From now on, you are like a sister to me. If anyone dares to bully you, just say the word. I would go through fire and water without hesitation. We ate dinner in silence, then retreated to our separate rooms. I looked up. Really? Then can you pretend to be my partner? I rented a small courtyard for Li Jianfeng 3 streets away from the military family compound. In my previous life at this time, I foolishly kept the agreement, washing clothes and cooking for Yu Ju every day. 3 years later, my father-in-law was hospitalized with liver cancer, and my mother-in-law was also in poor health, under the pressure of public opinion, as their daughter-in-law. I had no choice but to quit my job and return home to take care of them. In the family compound, we played the role of a loving newlywed couple. Little did I know that this caregiving would last for 12 years. In this life, I no longer want to cover up the truth for Yu Ju and Chen Changwan. My father-in-law's liver cancer dragged on for 3 years before he passed away, and soon after, my mother-in-law was diagnosed with a tumor. Yu Ju took the meat, eggs, and milk provided by the army and diligently delivered them to Chen Changwan to nourish her body. Those years, I accompanied my in-laws, taking care of their every need in the hospital, feeding them, helping them with daily necessities, until I lost over 30 pounds from exhaustion, so thin that a gust of wind could have blown me away. I, on the other hand, used the rice, flour, and oil from my workplace to personally cook a pot of Li Jianfeng's favorite noodles with gravy. Yu Ju used his salary and ration coupons to take Chen Changwan shopping at the Supply and Marketing Cooperative, watching movies and dining out. I just took my salary and the receipts, and brought Li Jianfeng to the scrapyard. Li Jianfeng's family used to run a pawn shop, so he has a sharp eye and can always pick out quite a few treasures from a pile of scrap. At first, Yu Ju was very happy because I never cared where he went or who he was with. After marrying me, he could still be with his white moonlight, Chen Changwan, just like before, but it wasn't long before he took the initiative to talk to me. Su Huan, we can't go on like this between us. Haven't you noticed that our home is becoming less and less like a home? I remained silent. Yu Ju will never know that in my past life, I truly considered this place my home. I forced an awkward smile and said, "This is my home, why can't I come back?" Yu Ju spoke sweet words, giving me his salary while giving his love to his white moonlight, but in reality, he only gave me his salary for the first month. After that, I never saw a single cent of his paycheck again. His salary and coupons all turned into movie tickets, snowflake cream, dresses, and various fresh candies and pastries for Chen Changwan. Only I, like a fool, saved every penny of my salary to buy new furniture, bedding, curtains, and dishes for this home, turning the once cold dormitory into a warm little nest. I also saved all the meat, sugar, and egg coupons distributed by my workplace. I would wait until Yu Ju came back on vacation to buy meat and eggs, then cook all kinds of delicious dishes for him, while telling me not to indulge in wishful thinking. Yu Ju, on the other hand, Felt completely at ease enjoying my contributions to this home. At 1001 hash, it's a pity that the foolish Shin Sujuan from my past life is already dead, in this life. I no longer care whether there's a warm and lively atmosphere at home, nor do I care anymore whether Yuju will be cold or hungry when he comes back on vacation. In truth, if he had waited just one more minute, he would have known that this time I came back not to be his wife. I moved all the things my workplace gave me to Li Jianfeng's place. I just want to take my things, every day. I eat over there before coming back. Yuju always thought that when I was at home, at least during holidays, there would be a warm meal waiting for me, but what greeted him was the cold lock on the door. I want to part on good terms with him and take this opportunity to finalize our divorce. Opening the door, the house was cold and deserted, as if no one had lived there for a long time. The thermos is empty, and the coal stove by the door also looks like it hasn't been used for a long time. He thought I had left the residential compound and hurriedly went to ask the neighbor next door. I also want to tell him that all these years, although I have harbored resentment toward him, there has been no hatred. Unexpectedly, the neighbor said, "Your wife, she went to her brother's place. Even though he left me in a living widowhood for 30 years, she said you weren't home. And she couldn't finish cooking and eating alone. Now she's cooking at her brother's place and will come back after the meal. But because of him, I have been an officer's wife for 30 years. Enjoying the benefits of a military family for 3 decades, Yuju was holding back a surge of anger inside. He sat in the room and waited until 8 o'clock in the evening before finally seeing me sitting on the back of a bicycle. Even my mother-in-law, before she passed away, held my hand and said that all these years, the Yu family had wronged me. Li Jianfeng rode the bicycle and brought me back. After that day, Yuju seemed like a completely different person. He no longer used work as an excuse to stay all day at the military base, spending time with his white moonlight. She left me $5,000 and a house, so even if we divorced, I wouldn't be homeless, just like other cadres in the residential compound. He would pick up 2 dishes from the canteen after work and bring home a bag of steamed buns. I had already made up my mind to part with him amicably. He also bought 200 coal briquettes for the house, every day after work. He would use the coal stove to heat up the dishes and steamed buns he brought home. Then, like a devoted husband, he would wait for me to come home from work to eat together. If it were me in my past life, I would have been moved to tears, completely falling into this man's sweet trap. In our past life, we misunderstood each other just like this. But now, facing Yuju's deliberate attentiveness, I just responded coldly, just as he had in my previous life. Comrade Yuju, don't forget. We are only a couple in name, not in reality. My heart belongs only to Jianfeng. Please don't have any unrealistic fantasies about me. I stayed in our hometown, enduring endless gossip, and in the end, I developed stomach cancer. Even on my deathbed, I was forced into a divorce. With a loud crash, the large coarse porcelain bowl filled with porridge fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. At 1001 hash, Yuju was stunned for a moment. Then lowered his head and silently fetched a broom and dustpan to clean up the broken porcelain pieces and the dust-covered porridge on the floor. Bit by bit, as my thoughts returned to the present, I picked up the household register and the marriage certificate I had just obtained the day before. Seeing me stubbornly sitting nearby, refusing to eat the food he had brought back from the cafeteria, Yuju let out a bitter laugh. "Sorry, I overstepped. I just didn't expect that you really like that man so much. I thought you agreed to a fake marriage with me. Perhaps you also have a little feeling for me. In any case, what happened today was my fault. I apologize to you." I patiently explained, "Don't worry, it's just a secret divorce certificate. During holidays or when your parents visit, I'll still keep my promise and pretend to be a fake couple with you. From now on, I won't interfere in your matters with that man anymore." I lifted my head and looked at him calmly. "It's best that you think this way. After all, from the beginning, we agreed to be a fake couple. However, if you really find it uncomfortable, I can move to Brother Jianfeng's place. We can just tell others that you're not home and I'm afraid to stay here alone." "No, don't move there." Yuju suddenly stood up agitatedly. I was stunned for a moment, never expecting that getting a divorce would require reporting to the military. Don't move. I'll go back to the barracks tonight. You can have this place. Yuju lowered his head, his eyes fixed intently on my face, as if trying to see even a hint of reluctance in my expression. However, he realized that at this moment, there was not a trace of reluctance on my face. Instead, there was even some relaxation and happiness. At that moment, he discovered with immense frustration, his wife in name seemed to genuinely not like him at all. That evening, Yuju left me 50 yuan. Along with 2 jin of meat coupons, 1 jin of sugar coupons, and a few fabric coupons. Then, he returned to the military base overnight. You'll be living at home alone. Seeing that Yuju didn't even spend the night at home during his leave, the neighbors looked at me with both mockery and sympathy in their eyes. My eyes lit up. So can I bring someone home to stay? Our next-door neighbor, Sister Liu, kindly reminded me. Sujuan, your deputy battalion commander Yu is so handsome. With a promising future and a good family background, there are so many women out there who have their eyes on him. You must keep a close watch on him. It's best to take advantage of your youth and quickly give him a son, so that he won't be lured away by some seductress outside. Otherwise, you'll regret it when it's too late. I nodded vigorously. Don't worry, I won't cheat on you. To outsiders, I'll just say he's my brother. I smiled and explained that Yujo really was working overtime at the unit, not out fooling around with women. Sister Liu clearly didn't believe me, looking at me as if I were a fool. From that day on, Yuju indeed kept his promise and never came back. I knew he wanted to say that men and women should maintain boundaries and that I shouldn't get too close to other men. However, every month, he would send me half of his salary and various coupons through others. I accepted them all without refusal. This was what he owed me from his past life. Now you won't let me bring someone back either. Isn't that a case of contradicting yourself? In the blink of an eye. It was the day when my former father-in-law was hospitalized with liver cancer. Seeing him so angry he looked about to explode, I suppressed a laugh and deliberately said to him, after receiving the telegram, Yuju immediately drove over to pick me up. If you think bringing someone to the military compound will stir up gossip, however, this time, he couldn't bring himself to demand, as he had in our previous life, that I sell my job and return to our hometown to take care of his parents as a matter of course. Then how about you give me some money to rent a place outside for him to stay? Yuju and I stayed in our hometown for 3 days, before leaving. Yuju took out a bank book and asked his mother to hire a caregiver for his father. My mother-in-law glanced at me, her eyes seeming somewhat displeased, and tentatively asked, Your father is this ill, and neither of you can stay. The implication in my mother-in-law's words was obvious. Yuju is now a deputy battalion commander, at a critical moment for making achievements and getting promoted, so of course he can't take a long leave to come back and take care of his father, at 1001 hash. She was hinting that I should voluntarily offer to resign or take unpaid leave to come back and serve my father-in-law. I glanced at Yuju, he looked a bit guilty and turned his head away, avoiding my gaze. Li Jianfeng isn't some random man. He's the one I love. In my previous life, I was just like this. Morally coerced by my in-laws' tears and the gossip around me, ultimately trapped in the Yu family's old house, living as a widow for a full 12 years. If it weren't for their family's terrible background that my parents absolutely refused to accept, I wouldn't have had to enter this fake marriage with you. In this life, I won't be so foolishly manipulated by others anymore. After all, I'm not the real daughter-in-law of the Yu family. If the in-laws want their daughter-in-law to come back and serve them, they should go find Chen Changwan instead. My mother-in-law is an educated person and wouldn't act like a wicked mother-in-law. But she kept hinting at me with her eyes. I pretended not to see it and said firmly, I have made up my mind to sacrifice my small family for the greater good, to dedicate my life to the socialist cause. I cannot abandon my work to come back and take care of the elderly. I couldn't help but sneer inwardly, however. As a daughter-in-law, I still need to fulfill my filial duties. Therefore, I told my mother-in-law that from now on, I would not take a single penny of Yujo's salary or any of the work unit's issued coupons. He should send all of it back to be used for hiring a caregiver for my father-in-law, buying medicine, and covering medical expenses, I kept my word. The very next month, I stopped accepting the money and coupons that Yujo had sent back. After all, he was still my husband in name. Yet he was entangled with his single, unattainable love. If word got out, not only would it embarrass my in-laws, but it would also negatively impact his future. However, Chen Changwan, the capitalist's daughter who was accustomed to a life of luxury, would likely find her future days less comfortable without the supplement of that half salary. In this lifetime, I did not have to serve the Yu family like a beast of burden. Attending to my in-laws, I had more time to go treasure hunting with Li Jianfeng in various places. We took money and grain coupons and visited some waste collection stations in remote communes. With just a little money, I managed to find many out-of-print books, damaged antique paintings and calligraphy, as well as some artifacts that others had used as broken pots for growing vegetables. Though we admired each other, we never crossed the line. We also used the money we earned to rescue many masters of antique and ancient book restoration who were still undergoing re-education in the cowsheds. With their help, we created many counterfeit artifacts that were so convincing they could pass for the real thing. We sold the fakes to foreigners at high prices. Now, I returned those exact words to him. Really, all of them are kept within the country. We are doing our utmost, in this chaotic era, to carefully protect the cultural relics that belong to our nation, striving to ensure that decades from now, China will have fewer regrets about cultural relics not being able to return home. Though we admired each other, we never crossed the line. When things get busy, I simply stay at Li Jianfeng's place. If you really don't believe me, then let's get a divorce. Until I hadn't returned home for several consecutive days, Yu Ju suddenly came looking for me. He saw me and Li Jianfeng with our heads close together, carefully examining a tattered rare book. Yu Ju walked in with a dark expression, gritting his teeth as he questioned me. Shen Sujuan, is this what you meant by you and him being completely innocent, not having crossed the line even half a step? I just came from the family compound, and they said you haven't been home for several days. You and him, are you? I impatiently cut off his speculation. Comrade Yu Ju. No matter what the relationship is between me and Comrade Li Jianfeng, it seems to have nothing to do with you, right? Take this to support your bastard man. Don't forget, between us, it's just a marriage in name only, a fake couple, and hide him far away. I don't want to see him. Yu Ju gritted his teeth and growled in a low voice, even a fake couple is still a couple. You're so unfaithful. A man and a woman alone, staying out all night. What will others think of me? At 1001 hash. I stood up and looked at him without backing down. Only now do you realize that when a man and a woman are alone, staying out all night, people will see it and gossip. Then when you abandoned your newlywed wife to spend time with your Wanwan under the moonlight, watching movies, shopping at department stores, and boating in the park, why didn't you think about what others would think of me? Yu Ju, you care so much about whether I've cheated on you. Could it be that you've developed feelings for me instead? My words struck Yu Ju like a heavy blow to the face. Instantly, his expression turned extremely unpleasant. He wanted to say that he deeply loved Chen Changwan and could never possibly develop feelings for another woman. However, Shun Sujuan is his lawfully wedded wife Tilda. Isn't it only natural for a husband to fall in love with his own wife? Or perhaps what he feels for Shun Sujuan isn't actually love, but rather, because she is his nominal wife, he has unconsciously developed some strange sense of possessiveness towards her. Yes, no matter what. Shun Sujuan is his lawfully wedded wife, and military marriages are protected by the law. Taking a deep breath, Yu Ju forced a smile and said to me, Su Huan, what happened before was my fault. I didn't consider your feelings and reputation. Come back with me first. I promise I'll try to go out alone with Wanwan less often from now on. I'll also give you the respect you deserve. Can we continue living together like before? Looking at Yu Ju's pleading eyes, I suddenly had an almost absurd thought. Could it be that he has really shifted his affection and fallen for me? Just then, Li Jianfeng spoke up. Comrade Yu Ju, I'm afraid that won't be possible. As you know, Sujuan and I love each other, and deep down, I don't want to see Sujuan living with another man. As a man, I think you can understand how I feel, Right, Yu suddenly clenched his fists, his eyes sharp and furious as he glared at Li Jianfeng. His tone was cold as he said, "Comrade Li Jianfeng, no matter what relationship you and Sujuan had in the past, please remember, as long as Sujuan and I have not officially filed for divorce, she, Shen Sujuan, is my lawful wife." Li Jianfeng chuckled lightly. "Then I'll wait for the day you and Sujuan get divorced." Yu stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The next day, an urgent telegram arrived from our hometown. Father-in-law had passed away in the hospital after failed resuscitation efforts. Yu drove over to pick me up so we could return for the funeral. All the way, I was in a daze. I never expected that in this lifetime, without my meticulous care, my father-in-law's advanced liver cancer didn't even last half a year, and just like that, he was gone. At the funeral hall, watching my mother-in-law cry until she fainted, I sighed and pulled Yu aside. "I think mother's health isn't very good. If you have time, you should take her to the hospital for a thorough checkup." Although my mother-in-law has always had a hint of calculation in her treatment of me over 2 lifetimes, at the very least, before she passed away in her previous life, she left me 5,000 yuan and a house in the provincial capital. Because of this, in this lifetime, I hope the tumor in her body can be detected early, and perhaps there is still a chance for a cure, but I never expected that at my father-in-law's funeral, my mother-in-law would actually slap me in front of both families' relatives. I was completely stunned by the slap. In front of my father-in-law's tombstone, my mother-in-law glared at me with reddened eyes, as if I were the one who had caused his death. "Shen Sujuan, you're not worthy of being a daughter-in-law of the Yu family. When your father-in-law was hospitalized with cancer, how could you, as his daughter-in-law, go back to work as if nothing had happened? How could our Yu family have married such an unfilial daughter-in-law? If it weren't for you, would Yu's father have passed away so soon?" Hearing my mother-in-law's unreasonable accusations and insults, I couldn't help but laugh in anger. "As you said, I'm just the daughter-in-law of the Yu family. While Yu is his father's own son, if he doesn't even come back to take care of his own father, why should I, as the daughter-in-law, be the one to serve his father?" The mother-in-law sharply scolded, "Just because you are Yu's wife, and Yu is doing important work in the military, as a military family member, you should be filial to his parents on his behalf and hold down the fort at home." I really didn't want to argue back with my mother-in-law, so I could only turn to look at Yu. "At this point, there's no use hiding it anymore. Do you want to tell your mother yourself, or should I?" Yu looked up blankly, and upon realizing the implication of my words, his eyes instantly filled with fear. "Sujuan, please, can you stop talking?" My mother-in-law pulled him aside and glared at me. "Speak, let her speak. I want to hear what excuse she has for not even being filial to her in-laws." Yu, held back by his mother, could only desperately plead with me with his eyes. "Sujuan, don't say it, please. Yu, it's too late. When you chose, time and again, to let me take the blame and endure the grievances, you and I were already completely settled." I looked at my mother-in-law and, under Yu's terrified and desperate gaze, told her everything. How he and I had a fake marriage, and how I, as his wife, had covered for Yu and Chen Chengwan's secret meetings. You all, at 1001 hash. My mother-in-law's eyes widened, and she couldn't catch her breath. With a thud, she fainted in front of her husband's tombstone, after my father-in-law's funeral. Despite Yu's attempts to persuade me to stay, I insisted on buying the earliest train ticket and left the city. Before I left, Yu asked me with a bitter smile, "Can't you really stay until after the first week of mourning?" I shook my head and said, "I'm sorry, but after all, ours is a marriage of convenience. It wouldn't be proper for me to observe the mourning rituals for your father. I think at a time like this, you should have the person you truly want to marry come instead." But why would Chen Chengwan come at such a time? In her previous life, she didn't want to bear the anger of her in-laws, nor did she want to take on the responsibility of supporting them. So, she had Yu, under the guise of marriage, keep me tied to my in-laws. It wasn't until my in-laws passed away and these 2 burdens were gone that Chen Chengwan revealed her true colors, forcing Yu to divorce me and make way for her, in this lifetime. With the father-in-law passing away so early and the mother-in-law still seething with anger, Chen Chengwan didn't dare to provoke any more trouble. I heard that the day after the news of the father-in-law's death arrived, Chen Chengwan applied for a medical aid mission at the border. Military orders are as unyielding as mountains. At the very least, she wouldn't be able to return for 2 years. 2 years later, time had already washed everything away. She returned with honors. And she would still be the purest white moonlight in Yu Ju's heart. This woman's calculations are just too clever. It's just a pity that in this life, I have already seen through everything and no longer want to be a pawn in her and Yu Ju's love story. After making everything clear, I submitted a divorce application to the organization, but for some reason, Yu Ju was unwilling to sign the papers. I moved out of the military family compound, however. Yu Ju was right to remind me that before the formal divorce, living with Li Jianfeng would not be beneficial for either of us. So, I moved into the company dormitory. In my spare time, I began sorting through some fragmented scrolls I had collected from the scrapyard. I planned to publish a book to let the whole world know that these brilliant cultural heritages belong to our Chinese nation, decades from now. If any shameless country dares to claim these cultural treasures as their own and attempt to register them as their heritage, this book will serve as undeniable evidence, slapping them right in the face. Little did I know that while I was secluded at home writing the book, a huge uproar had already erupted in the residential compound. After learning that Yu Ju and I had a fake marriage, my mother-in-law found out where Chen Chengwan was providing aid. She actually used my father-in-law's connections to go straight to the front lines and brought Chen Chengwan back. In the family compound, Chen Chengwan trembled as she hid behind Yu Ju. Her delicate, small face was covered with bright red slap marks. The mother-in-law glared at Yu Ju and said coldly, "If you still recognize me as your mother, then today, right here, in front of everyone, cut all ties with this woman." Yu Ju shook his head in pain. "Mom, I know you're grieving since Dad passed away, but this matter has absolutely nothing to do with Wanwan. How can you take your anger out on her?" The mother-in-law roared. "How is it not related? If it weren't for her, you and Sujuan would have long become a real couple. I know Sujuan's character well. If she were really our Yu family's daughter-in-law, when your father was diagnosed with cancer, she would have definitely quit her job to come back and take care of him full-time. Your father wouldn't have passed away so early. It's all because of this homewrecker. She destroyed your family with Sujuan and caused your father's death. How can you still want to protect her?" The mother-in-law's accusations, word by word, made Yu Ju and Chen Chengwan retreat repeatedly, their faces turning pale. In this era, punishment for improper relationships between men and women is particularly severe. Moreover, both Yu Ju and Chen Chengwan are military personnel. If it were confirmed that they were having an improper relationship, forget about promotions. They might even be immediately discharged from the military. Yu Ju begged her mother-in-law to stop talking. Chen Chengwan was also frightened and tearfully promised to keep her distance from Yu Ju in the future, vowing never to disrupt their marital relationship again. Unfortunately, it was all too late. In the military family compound, the residents are all officers of a regiment and their families. Yu Ju is not the one with the highest position among them. After the mother-in-law caused a scene in the family compound, the very next day, Yu Ju and Chen Chengwan were suspended from their duties by the Organization for Investigation. The investigation team also came to our unit, found me, and inquired about the relationship between my husband and Chen Chengwan. I didn't kick someone when they were down. I just told the truth. Yu Ju and I are indeed a fake couple in name only. On our wedding night, he told me he had someone in his heart and vowed to remain chaste for that person, so we could only be a fake couple. As for whether that person is Chen Chengwan, and whether the two of them have done anything to betray their families, I don't know, although I didn't kick someone when they were down. Unfortunately, Yu Ju and Chen Chengwan had been far too conspicuous in the military before. The investigation team only had to ask a few people around them to gather a substantial amount of evidence. They went to the park together, dined at state-run restaurants together, and watched movies together. What's more, after getting married, Yu Ju paid no attention to me, his wife. yet gave his entire monthly salary and all his ration coupons to Chen Changwan. The evidence is irrefutable. Soon after, both Yu Ju and Chen Changwan were discharged from the military. The house in the family compound was also reclaimed by the military. My divorce application submitted to the military was quickly approved. On the day of the divorce, Yu Ju, unshaven and wearing a crumpled armor green shirt, looked at me with an expression full of regret. Su Huan, between us, in the future, will there still be a chance for us to start over? I smiled. Between you and me, it never even began, so how could there be a future? It was already 5 years later when I saw Yu Ju again. My new book was a great success after its publication, and I received an invitation from the Writers Association in my hometown to return and hold a symposium. As I entered the venue, I suddenly spotted a familiar figure at the entrance. Yu Ju, why is he working as a security guard here? Yu Ju seemed to have seen me too, but he quickly turned around, pretending not to have noticed me. I didn't step forward to acknowledge him. Sometimes, pretending not to know each other is also a form of dignity for adults. However, after the symposium ended, my name as his ex-wife was inevitably brought up during the dinner gathering. I heard that back then, after he was discharged from the military, his mother had already pulled some strings and planned to send him to the grassroots level for training. But just at that moment, Yu Ju's white moonlight couldn't bear the hardships of grassroots life and actually ran off with a nouveau riche. Yu Ju was deeply affected and refused to stay at the grassroots level any longer. Despite his mother's objections, he sold off more than half of the family assets to raise enough capital. Intending to go into business, he planned to achieve success and fame, so that Chen Changwan, that wretched woman, would regret her actions. Unfortunately, Yu Ju simply had no talent for business, and in less than a year, he had lost all his capital. At 1001 hash, just then, as in her previous life, her mother-in-law was diagnosed with a tumor. Yu Ju sold off the last of the Yu family's assets, but still couldn't save her mother-in-law's life. After her mother-in-law passed away, the family's only house was also repossessed by her mother-in-law's former employer. Yu Ju had nowhere to go, so he had to turn to his old comrade and found himself a job as a security guard. At least, the issues of food and shelter were resolved. I heard that Chen Changwan followed that nouveau riche to the south, thinking she was going to live a life of luxury. Unexpectedly, the man had already married a wife there. Just because his wife couldn't bear children, he deceived her into going back to have a son. Chen Changwan was too proud and ambitious. How could she ever be willing to bear a son for someone else? Relying on her familiarity with pharmaceuticals, she secretly concocted a drug and poisoned the nouveau riche's original wife, just as she thought she was about to succeed. The original wife's brothers came knocking at her door. Without distinguishing right from wrong or having any evidence, they immediately tied Chen Changwan up, bound her with stones, stuffed her into a sack, and threw her into the sea. During that era, there were many people attempting to flee the country along the coast. Every day, several bodies would wash ashore, and the police couldn't even investigate them all. Moreover, Chen Changwan was only considered missing, and no one reported her disappearance to the police. It wasn't until a year later, when one of the original wife's brothers was arrested for a crime, that this old case was brought to light. However, because so much time had passed, Chen Changwan's body could no longer be found. But all of this has nothing to do with me anymore. Li Zhanfeng collected many more precious cultural ancient texts for me. It's time to start preparing for my second book. Fortunately, in recent years, Li Zhanfeng has picked up the family's traditional business again and opened a pawn shop. With him at home taking care of the children, I can also focus on preparing my new book with peace of mind.